At some point, you began living with an invisible audience in your mind. Every word you speak gets filtered. Every decision is softened. Every part of you gets edited just to avoid disapproval. You tell yourself this is maturity. You tell yourself it's about being considerate. But deep down, you feel it. The quiet exhaustion of performing instead of truly living. Here's a hard truth most people never face. The more you care about what others think, the less power you have over your own life. The Stoics recognized this centuries ago. They knew approval is a moving target, opinions are unstable, and surrendering your inner authority is the fastest way to lose yourself. You were not born to be agreed with. You were born to act with integrity, even when misunderstood. In this video, we'll remove the need for validation, reclaim your inner strength, and restore the calm authority that comes from living by principle rather than applause. Say it quietly to yourself. My worth is not up for a vote. 1. Caring too much is a form of self-betrayal. Most people believe that caring about others' opinions is kindness, humility, or emotional intelligence. You're taught that being liked keeps the peace, that fitting in keeps you safe, that adjusting yourself makes life easier. So, you read the room carefully. You hesitate before speaking. You soften your truth so it doesn't make anyone uncomfortable. But there's a line most cross without noticing. Once crossed, caring stops being empathy and turns into betrayal. Every time you silence your true opinion to avoid judgment, you tell yourself, my truth is negotiable. Every time you shape your behavior around approval, you teach your mind that your worth depends on permission. This is not kindness. It's self-abandonment masquerading as maturity. The Stoics warned about this long before social media or performative lifestyles existed. They understood that the moment your actions are driven by how others perceive you, you're living by fear instead of reason. Fear of rejection, conflict, or standing alone. Notice how this shows up daily. You agree with things that don't feel right, laugh at comments that cross your boundaries, stay silent when a line is crossed, telling yourself it's not worth it. Outwardly, nothing erupts, but internally, erosion happens. Every compromise chips away at your self-respect. Self-betrayal is rarely loud, it's quiet, polite, reasonable, and that's why it's dangerous. Marcus Aurelius wrote that when you live according to others' opinions, you hand them control over your peace. Not because their opinions are inherently powerful, but because you made them so. Outsourcing your self-worth means losing the ability to stand firmly in your own judgments. Caring too much turns you into a shapeshifter. Around one person, you're agreeable. Around another, cautious. Around authority, silent. Over time, you stop knowing which version is truly you. The more fragmented you become, the more exhausted you feel. That exhaustion isn't from effort, it's from internal contradiction. Approval feels addictive because it offers short-term relief, a nod, a smile, a sense of belonging. But the long-term cost is confusion and weakness. You become emotionally dependent on signals you cannot control, and when they vanish, so does your sense of stability. Stoicism reframes this brutally but clearly. Your responsibility is not to be liked, it is to be aligned with reason, with values, with the version of yourself you respect. When you act against your principles to gain approval, you don't gain connection, you lose integrity. To the Stoics, integrity was the core of personal power. Without it, no amount of praise can make you feel secure. This doesn't mean being rude, cold, or antagonistic. It means refusing to trade your inner authority for social comfort, noticing when you're about to shrink and choosing not to. The first step out of self-betrayal is awareness. Pay attention to the small moments when you override yourself. The swallowed sentence, the forced agreement, the delayed boundary. These are not minor. They're the training ground where you either strengthen or weaken your character. Every time you betray yourself to keep the peace, you declare war on your own power. 2. You don't control opinions, and never will. One of life's most exhausting illusions is believing that if you explain yourself well enough, behave carefully enough, or improve yourself enough, people will eventually see you correctly. This seems fair and reasonable, but it quietly drains you. It's false. You cannot control how people interpret you. Opinions form through lenses you don't own, past experiences, insecurities, expectations, biases, old emotional wounds. When someone judges you, they're not reacting solely to you. They're reacting to a story already playing in their mind. The Stoics were brutally honest about this. Life is divided into two categories: what's within your control and what isn't. Your thoughts, choices, and actions belong to you. Other people's opinions do not. Confuse these, and anxiety takes over. Think of all the energy wasted trying to manage perception, replaying conversations, worrying if you offended someone, or wondering if you said too much or too little. This mental looping isn't self-awareness, it's resistance against reality. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself daily that people would misunderstand him, criticize him, and act unfairly. None of it needed to disturb his inner order unless he allowed it, not because he was numb, but because he knew where his responsibility ended. Trying to control opinions is a game with no rules and no finish line. Even if one person approves today, another may disapprove tomorrow. Emotional stability becomes hostage to constantly shifting forces. Caring too much leads to chronic tension. You're trying to stabilize something unstable, gripping water and wondering why your hands are tired. Stoicism doesn't say stop caring about people, it says stop confusing influence with control. You can act honestly, speak clearly, live by principle. But once those actions leave your hands, interpretation belongs to the world, not you. There's a strange freedom in accepting this. When you stop managing perception, you reclaim mental space, speak more directly, decide faster, stop rehearsing life, and start living it. Notice how often your behavior is shaped by imagined reactions, not real ones. This imagined audience becomes stricter than any actual critic. Even with all your effort, misunderstanding still happens. Stoicism asks, did you act according to reason and values? If yes, the outcome is secondary. If no, no approval can fix that inner fracture. Clarity doesn't guarantee acceptance, it guarantees self-respect. Self-respect is far more stable than reputation. When you stop trying to control opinions, you don't lose power, you reclaim it. Your peace was never meant to be negotiable. 3. Needing validation keeps you emotionally weak. At first, seeking validation feels natural, human, even harmless. You want to be seen, understood, reassured. You look outward for approval, feedback, confirmation. Over time, though, dependence builds. Validation trains your nervous system to wait, pause, scan for signals. A smile feels like safety. Silence feels like rejection. Disagreement feels like danger. Your emotional state rises and falls based on cues you cannot control. From a Stoic perspective, this is vulnerability, not sensitivity, but dependence. Outsourced self-worth creates fragility. A single comment can unsettle you. Lack of praise feels like failure. Criticism, even unfair, can derail your day. People who crave validation often struggle with boundaries. Saying no feels risky. Expressing discomfort feels threatening. Standing firm feels selfish. They compromise not from agreement, but fear of losing approval. The Stoics saw this clearly. Emotional strength comes from self-approval grounded in virtue, not external applause. Align your actions with reason and character, and reassurance becomes internal. Consider how often people act against themselves to avoid being disliked. They overextend, tolerate disrespect, stay silent, then wonder why they feel drained, irritable, or unseen. Validation creates a hidden contract. I'll be who you want if you make me feel worthy. Once that contract exists, power shifts. Whoever controls approval controls the relationship, opening the door to emotional manipulation, sometimes intentional, often not. Epictetus warned that seeking approval makes you a servant, not because others demand it, but because you give it. Preemptively adjusting your behavior for comfort is emotional weakness, not moral, but structural. Your inner state should not depend on external conditions, because anything dependent can be taken away. Stoicism doesn't ask you to reject feedback or isolate yourself. It asks you to shift the source of your worth. Instead of asking, "Do they approve of me?" the Stoic asks, "Did I act with integrity?" That shift changes everything. When validation is no longer the goal, your behavior becomes calmer and more deliberate. You stop performing, you stop over-explaining, you stop chasing reassurance. And paradoxically, this often earns more respect. Not because you seek it, but because you no longer need it. Strength isn't loud, it's settled. You can sense the difference immediately. One person enters a room scanning for approval, another enters grounded, self-contained, unbothered by reactions. The second person feels safer to be around, not because they please, but because they are stable. Breaking free from validation doesn't make you cold, it makes you free. When you stop needing permission to be yourself, your emotional center becomes unshakable. That is the foundation of true inner power. Most opinions are projections, not truths. One of the most freeing realizations is that most of what people say about you has very little to do with you. It feels personal and direct, but psychologically, it rarely is. Opinions are often mirrors, not measurements. People don't see the world as it is, they see it as they are. Every judgment passes through layers of personal history, emotional wounds, fears, and unmet needs. When someone criticizes you, they are often reacting to something unresolved within themselves. When someone resents your boundaries, it's usually because they benefited from you having none. When someone mocks your growth, it exposes their stagnation. The Stoics understood this without modern psychology. People act from their inner state, not objective truth. This is why Marcus Aurelius repeatedly reminded himself not to be disturbed by insults or praise. They both come from unstable sources. Consider how different people respond to the same version of you. One admires your confidence, another calls it arrogance. One respects your silence, another labels it coldness. If opinions were facts, they would be consistent, but they aren't. They change depending on who is observing. This inconsistency is proof. When you internalize opinions, you absorb other people's projections as facts. You begin questioning yourself through someone else's emotional filters. Over time, this creates confusion and self-doubt, not because you are unclear, but because you carry noise that isn't yours. Stoicism teaches mental hygiene. Just because a thought reaches you doesn't mean it deserves a place in your mind. You don't have to argue with every judgment or defend yourself against every interpretation. Some opinions are simply emotional debris. Notice how projections intensify when you change. The moment you set boundaries, you're called selfish. The moment you grow quieter, distant. The moment you stop explaining, difficult. These reactions are not evaluations of your character. They're reactions to lost access. Many collapse back into old patterns, mistaking resistance for feedback, discomfort for wrongdoing, abandoning progress to restore familiarity. Stoicism offers a different response, observation without absorption. Instead of reacting, you watch. Instead of defending, you evaluate. Instead of internalizing, you decide. Ask, is this about my character or their expectations? Often, the answer is clear if you are honest. This doesn't mean all criticism is invalid. Stoics valued correction based on reason and evidence, but they knew most opinions are emotional reflexes, not thoughtful assessments. Learning to distinguish the two builds strength. When you stop treating every opinion as truth, you regain clarity. You stop shrinking in response to noise. You stop adjusting yourself to fit distorted reflections. You move through the world with more composure. The goal isn't to be untouchable, it's to be unconfused. Once you recognize most judgments are projections, you stop carrying emotions that were never yours to manage, and that frees enormous inner energy. 4. Silence and composure reclaim your power. Many believe power comes from perfect responses, sharp comebacks, airtight explanations, or defending yourself instantly, so when judged or challenged, they rush to speak, justify, clarify, over-explain, and without realizing it, give away their power. In Stoicism, silence is not weakness, it is restraint, and restraint is strength. Every time you feel compelled to explain yourself, ask why. Is it because clarity is needed, or because you're uncomfortable being misunderstood? Often the urge isn't about truth, it's anxiety, fear someone might misjudge you. Paradoxically, the more you explain, the more uncertain you appear. The more you defend, the more you validate the accusation. Calm composure signals self-trust. It tells the world you are not shaken by noise. The Stoics believed emotional reactions reveal who is in control. If someone provokes you into justifying yourself, they lead the interaction. If you remain centered and measured, you quietly reclaim authority. Conflict often escalates not due to disagreement but emotional urgency, raised voices, defensive tones, repeated explanations. Silence interrupts that cycle. Stoic silence is intentional. It allows reason to guide actions instead of impulse. It's the choice not to react simply because you're provoked. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The best revenge is not to mirror the one who wronged you, including their emotional chaos. When you remain composed while others spiral, your calm becomes a boundary." People respond differently when you stop over-explaining. Some get uncomfortable, some push harder, some reveal true intentions. Silence preserves energy. Every avoided argument, every withheld unnecessary defense protects mental clarity. You stop leaking attention into battles not worth fighting. In modern life, this is rare. Everyone feels pressure to comment, clarify, justify. Stoicism resists that pressure. You owe yourself coherence, not constant access. A person who speaks only when necessary, times their words carefully, and doesn't rush to fill silence carries quiet authority. That authority isn't forced, it's felt. Silence shifts the burden. Instead of proving yourself, others are left with assumptions, which often collapse under their own weight. Composure is discipline. When you master reactions, you master the moment. When you stop explaining yourself to those committed to misunderstanding, you reclaim something invaluable, your inner command. Power doesn't announce itself, it settles in the stillness of someone who knows who they are and doesn't need to prove it. 6. Living by virtue, not applause. One of the hardest shifts is moving from living for applause to living by principle. Applause is immediate, emotional, and feels rewarding. Virtue, on the other hand, is quiet, often invisible, and sometimes misunderstood. Most people chase approval because it gives instant feedback. Virtue asks patience. Stoicism teaches life should be measured not by appearances, but by alignment. Alignment with reason, character, and values you would defend, even if no one agreed. Marcus Aurelius reminded himself to do what was right, even when no one noticed. Not because recognition doesn't matter, but because dependence on it is dangerous. If your motivation collapses the moment applause disappears, it was never stable to begin with. Living by virtue means following an internal compass. You choose honesty even when it costs popularity. You choose restraint even when provocation invites drama. You choose courage even when silence would be easier. Yes, this path can feel lonely. When you stop performing for approval, some people lose interest. When you stop explaining yourself, some grow uncomfortable. When you stop chasing validation, you may be labeled distant, arrogant, or detached. These labels are the price of independence. Stoicism asks a deeper question. Would you rather be respected by many or by yourself? Applause rewards surface behavior. Virtue shapes identity. One fades quickly, the other compounds over time. The Stoics believed character is the only possession no one can take from you. Reputation can be damaged. Praise can be withdrawn. Character remains. Living by virtue also simplifies life. Decisions become clearer when filtered through values instead of reactions. You no longer ask, how will this be received? You ask, is this right? That single shift dramatically reduces mental conflict. This doesn't mean ignoring consequences or being reckless. It means considering them without fear. You act knowing outcomes are uncertain, but integrity is not. A quiet confidence emerges when you live this way. You don't rush to defend yourself. You don't need constant reassurance. You trust that consistency over time will speak louder than momentary judgment. Epictetus taught, to be invincible, make yourself independent of what you cannot control. Applause falls squarely into that category. Virtue does not. Notice how rare it is to meet someone unmoved by praise or criticism, someone steady, difficult to manipulate. That steadiness isn't arrogance, it's self-command. Living by virtue won't make everyone like you, but it will make you whole. And wholeness carries a gravity that applause never could. When guided by principle instead of reaction, you stop negotiating your worth with the world. You stand rooted in something deeper. Power isn't borrowed, it's owned. 7. A 7-day Stoic detachment. Freedom from others' opinions doesn't happen through a single realization. It's built through small, deliberate acts of detachment, repeated until your nervous system learns you are safe without approval. This isn't withdrawal from life, it's withdrawal from dependence. Think of the next 7 days as a reset, not a performance, not a challenge to impress anyone, just a quiet return to yourself. On the first day, begin with awareness. Notice when you seek approval, the subtle pauses before speaking, the urge to check reactions, the instinct to explain. Don't judge, just observe. Stoicism begins with clarity, not force. The second day, practice restraint. When you feel pulled to justify yourself, pause. Ask whether explanation is truly necessary or if discomfort is driving you. Often, silence is enough. Let situations resolve without interference. The third day, focus on emotional non-reaction. When triggered by criticism, dismissal, or misunderstanding, slow your response. Feel the emotion without obeying it. You don't need to respond immediately to be respected. The fourth day, return to the Stoic call, control. Write down what you can control and what you cannot. Your effort, choices, and character belong to you. Opinions, reactions, and outcomes do not. Revisit this list whenever anxiety rises. The fifth day, reduce exposure to noise. Limit conversations that revolve around gossip, comparison, or judgment. Reduce time in environments that measure worth through likes, praise, or outrage. Mental space is essential for inner stability. The sixth day, act according to a chosen value. Pick one principle: honesty, courage, restraint, fairness, and let it guide your actions for the day. Not loudly, not performatively, but quietly. Let your behavior align without explanation. On the seventh day, define your inner standard. Write a single sentence reflecting how you want to live, regardless of approval. This becomes your anchor. Return to it whenever doubt arises. This reset isn't about indifference, it's about becoming anchored. Over time, you'll notice subtle changes. Less urgency to respond, less need to be understood, more comfort in your own presence. People may react differently. Some will respect the shift, some will resist. That's expected. Detachment doesn't remove reactions, it reveals them. The Stoics didn't seek isolation, they sought inner sovereignty. They engaged with the world while refusing to be ruled by it. Even imperfect practice restores a sense of calm authority and steadiness that doesn't rise and fall with opinions. Freedom isn't loud, it's quiet, practiced, internal. Once you glimpse it, you realize you were never meant to live at the mercy of others' thoughts. At the core of Stoic philosophy lies a simple but demanding truth. Your life becomes lighter the moment you stop handing your inner authority to the world. The need for approval may feel natural, but it slowly teaches you to live divided, part of you acting, part of you watching, always waiting for permission. The Stoics didn't escape society, they faced it with clarity. Opinions rise and fall, praise comes and goes, misunderstanding is inevitable. None of this is failure, it is the cost of individuality. When you stop caring what others think, you don't become careless, you become deliberate. You choose actions based on values, not reactions. You speak when necessary, remain silent when wise, and move forward without dragging imagined judgment behind you. This is where real power lives, not in dominance, not in controlling others, but in self-command, the ability to remain steady while the world fluctuates. You don't need to convince everyone. You don't need to be understood by all. You need to be aligned with yourself. Your peace isn't given by the world. It's protected through discipline and perspective. Begin today, not by changing how others see you, but by changing whose opinion truly governs your life. When you reclaim that authority, you gain not just calm, but freedom.